Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hello, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome as a guest to the show today, Christopher Maher. He is an author, an inventor, an entrepreneur, speaker, coach, and innovator in the fields of health, wellness, and longevity. He is also the creator of the True Body Intelligence technology. Welcome, Christopher. Excited to have
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
For the listeners, we already had like a pre-conversation where we got to connect a bit, which was great. And happy to be here. Nice to know when you're with someone where you have shared values. So I think this will be a really great conversation for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, Christopher, I would love for you to share with us, what led you to this path?
Well, I'm a former U.S. Navy SEAL. Former is probably the wrong word. I'm a U.S. Navy SEAL. And I ended up with pain in my body, right? And that's the conscious explanation of what led me to the path.
Mhm.
But I think spiritually, what led me to the path is my soul was begging for freedom and for release from the prison. It's a little harsh, but let's just say the limitations of reality that are being experienced here on the third dimensional plane. And those limitations caused me to have a lot of physical discomfort. I started losing my vision at a very young age. I started losing my hearing. I was waking up urinating in the middle of the night far too often. I was an insomniac in a certain way. And when you start getting overly tired and you have a lot of pain in your body, because I'm ambitious, you still have to show up in your life. You still have to work, right? Still had a social life, still had friends and family members I cared about. So I still had to be present, even though on the back end I was suffering internally. No one would know externally because the way that I showed up, I was vivacious and alive and present and generous emotionally. And so I think my body said, look, there's these two things that are happening. You have this way in which you're being externally with the world, and then you have this other thing you're experiencing inside, and these don't match up. And we need to figure something out. And pain was the fastest way to get me to stop over adjusting internally and over adapting externally so that I could find my true self and
Yeah,
live my purpose.
our body is really great at giving us those signals,
Mm,
right? Letting us know
hmm
when something's amiss and something needs to change. And what's crazy, right, is that it's almost like most of us have been conditioned to live within a culture uh, that promotes pain, right? That promotes suffering in order to reach some elusive destination of where you're programmed, that you need to be in your life eventually. But really, it is about harmonizing those bodies, which I know we're going to get into with what you've created and, the work that you're doing, but it's literally like about the opposite of that, right? It's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think and feel that part of that is obviously everybody's being raised by parents, whether they're adoptive, whether they're foster, whether they're biological. And parents have limitations, right? They're working and they're doing the best to give you something that's a little better than what was handed off to them.
Hmm.
And I think that we're finally in this place in the world where people like you and people like me can broadcast into the world and go, hey, look, it's okay to look at your pain. It's okay to embrace your discomfort. It's okay to be honest about your limiting beliefs. Embrace your inner deficiencies and your insecurities and grow beyond the limitations that were handed to you. And I have found, being a practitioner and a coach, that pain is the fastest way to get someone to wake up.
Hmm.
It's the fastest way to get someone to wake up. And would you ever want a mother to lose her child when he's 7 years old? No, you would never want that. But if that loss of that child causes you to look in the mirror and grow beyond your own limitations, then that loss had purpose.
Hmm.
And the way that I look at things is that the body is always informing you of balance, and I like the word that you use, harmony, or disharmonious, or out of balance. And there's lots of practitioners in the world. There's people you can go to who are seers. There's people you can go to who read your cards. There's people you can go to who will pray for you. There's people you can go to who will, adjust your joints. Like, there's so much available to us now that our parents had zero access to. And so I feel like being in pain, this is the perfect time to be in pain and to address your pain, because everywhere you look, you can get help, and you can get help for free, because there's people, because what are you going to do with this podcast, right? You're going to put it up on your social media and people are going to get access to it, and hopefully they find you and they find another avenue where they can shed some of their discomfort and pain. And so this disharmony is the fastest way to get back into balance and to grow our world into a more harmonious place for us all to live.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a believer in my own personal experience and in that of working and supporting others, that nothing is random. Everything is very purposeful, and especially where our pain is concerned, where that dis-ease is concerned, there's a cause for that. Our bodies tend to store a lot, right? And part of living in the world that we've been living in as well, beyond even our immediate parental influence, right? Just living in a society, and especially in an information age, we can so often tend to confuse information with embodiment. Like,
Mm.
information isn't action, information isn't checking things off the list, right? So what happens even if we experience some kind of trauma or event that shakes us, right? We uh, may have an awareness to acknowledge that, but then we often, so often, do not take the step further to allow ourselves to look at the whole thing, right? To allow our bodies to process it, to fully move through it. And then it ends up being come stored in our body and manifests into something else.
Yeah, something radically positive, right? Like that's the thing that I would hope that the listeners gather from this call today, this call to action. Meaning, like, look at yourself, right? Look at your brain. Is it foggy? Look at your emotions. Are they ungrounded and anxious? Look at your body. Is it uncomfortable and stiff and painful? Look at your spirit, right? Is it heavy and dark, and like what is it questioning? Is it doubtful? Like, whatever's going on, like, take a little bit of a risk and go to someone and tell them, Hey, listen, my mind is a little foggy. A little weird. The other day, I went back to my bedroom to get something, and when I got back there, I couldn't remember what I was going back there to get. And simply letting people in on your own fears and the things that you're experiencing that are a little bit distorted can open up a conversation with someone else, and they may be able to direct you to someone who they trust and they value, who might be able to get your brain to be more clear and less foggy, to get your body to be more comfortable and less restricted, to get your emotions to be more excited and less anxious, and to get your spirit to be more effervescent and less heavy.
Absolutely. And sometimes we need to summon the courage to be first
Mm,
in starting the conversation because something I often have said, is that being fearless isn't about being without fear. It's not about that image of perfection and confidence that so many of us are taught of what it means to be fearless. It's about consciously acknowledging, as you're saying, right,
mm,
where you are in the present moment and making that conscious decision to choose to move through it, to look at it anyways.
yeah,
That's the way forward.
that's the way forward. I remember growing up in Pennsylvania, and even though I live in California, in Pennsylvania, people are very friendly, they're very loyal, and they're very traditional, right? And yet, it's difficult for me to call on a conversation when someone was telling me that they were in pain, or they were uncomfortable emotionally, or they were confused mentally, or they were exhausted energetically. And I lived there till I was, what, 19 years old? And so you can see that unless we retrain ourselves, and to be honest with you, I was suffering for a long time before I bent the knee and reached out for help.
Mhm,
It took me a long time because I think men, particularly, are trained to never show weakness.
mhm.
And I'm looking forward to having a bit of that untrained out of us. And so that vulnerability can be seen as power
Mhm.
versus weakness. And I think if we can turn vulnerability into a strength within our sense of ourselves, or our idea about who it is we are, I think humanity can grow exponentially over the next 10, 15 years.
Absolutely. And I feel like one of the keys to that is really taking under sacred review, redefining our relationship with language, right?
Mm,
There's so
yes.
much inversion in our
Yes.
world and our society around language. What you were even just saying is a perfect example of how men are taught, right? That you can't be weak. Well, let's look at what we've been taught to believe that weak even means, right? We've been taught that vulnerability is weakness, and the divine truth is that it's quite literally the opposite.
Mm, mm,
And there are many other examples, right? Surrender, we've been taught that means defeat, not alignment.
hmm So, as a woman, what would you say is the counterpart to the limiting belief that vulnerability is a weakness?
I mean, vulnerability is a strength, and you can phrase that in many different ways. Um,
Yeah, I think for me, it's just in my curiosity.
mhm.
I think that's a deficiency that men have. What would you say is the same deficiency that women have? Is it right?
I'm
I
sorry.
think one of the things that comes up for me in terms of
Mhm.
women is that is that they have to understand that beauty is internal.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, I understand what you're saying. So, yeah, with women, right? Many of us are conditioned to believe that if we look great on the outside or we're reaching some level of external perfection, right, that's we allow ourselves or can allow ourselves to become defined by that.
Mm.
you know. Um, that is very prominent for women,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's in the media, it's everywhere
Like
around us, right?
everywhere. It's funny that we're talking about this because when you look at the media and we see pictures, whether it's magazines or they're always showing the man in strength, right? And then they're always showing the woman in beauty and submissiveness.
Yes.
And I think when we take on these external archetypes, it limits our capacity to be able to identify, well, who am I in relationship to money? Who am I in relationship to education? Who am I in relationship to movement? Like I know for me, movement has changed dramatically. You know, when you're a Navy SEAL, you're at peak performance, right? Lean, strong,
Hmm.
uh, never give up attitude, willful, um, powerful, present. And then for me, as I have reduced the amount of internal stress and tension in my body, my relationship to my body's changed dramatically. Like you will hardly ever see me at the gym. You'll hardly ever see me doing calisthenics. Like what
Hmm.
I've learned for me is I use my body in a way that's more functional instead of physically presentive, right? I'm less concerned about that, and um, I have more of a meaningful relationship with how the internal side of my body's running. How's my heart doing? How's my liver doing? How's my colon doing? How's my small intestine doing? You know, how
Hmm.
have you seen, as a practitioner and someone who's constantly impacting people's lives, how have you seen the narrative change or your relationship with your body?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak for myself and also others, that I've held space for. Our body has its own consciousness. So that's the
Mm.
first thing, right? Is understanding that we have our relationship with our body. It's not just this thing that we're walking around, inside of every day, right? It needs
Yeah.
to be nurtured, it needs to be cared for, and the
Mm.
way that formulates is
Mm.
unique for each one of us. There is a consciousness, an eternal consciousness that our body possesses that
Mm.
travels with us from incarnation to incarnation.
Mm.
So understanding that there's a deeper consciousness and a deeper relationship to be cultivated and developed
Yes.
with your body, and to begin to get really conscious about intuitively listening to it
Mm.
and and what it wants. And if you create space to do that in, meditations, like the easiest way, in silence, in stillness, it will share with you what it
Mm-hmm.
needs. And sometimes, half of the time at least, it will give you an answer that your human mind was not planning or
Mm-hmm.
expecting, right? So it could be like, oh, I was planning to go on a walk this morning, or I was planning to go to the gym. Well, no, I actually would rather that we stay at home and do 30 minutes of stretching, or drink
Mm.
warm lemon water, or
Mm.
sleep in tomorrow and not set an alarm to ensure that you're getting enough rest, right?
Mm.
Because what happens is, when we're not honoring any aspect of ourselves, including our body, we get into this state of constriction and
Mm.
resistance. And when we're in that place of constriction and resistance, then we're literally repelling,
Mm.
everything that we really want, right? So, which I'd love for you to actually, this is a great time to segue into you sharing more about your technology, because it really is key, bringing all aspects of our being, all of our bodies into harmony. So when we restore divine flow and begin to free ourselves of that density, of that resistance, then we actually start experiencing a lot more velocity in our lives, in
Mm.
terms of really bringing into physical form the experiences that we truly want to have.
Mm, mm. You know what I like about you? Your language is very succinct, right? And it's always fun for me to share space with someone who uses the same language that I do. And I'm like, oh wow, this is interesting. I think to distill this down for the listeners, having an intuitive relationship with your body, right? And
Yes, exactly.
allowing your body to inform you what it wants rather than your mind having a dictatorial relationship with your body.
Exactly. And the mind does serve a purpose, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have it. But where a lot of people get confused, again, because of environmental, societal, cultural, whatever programming, conditioning, is that the mind isn't the star of the show. The mind is a supporting role.
Yeah, it gets to observe
It
the
helps take care of the
magic.
logistics
Yeah,
of
yeah,
certain things,
yeah.
right?
And so true body intelligence, we're working, meaning myself and my practitioners and the people that I've coached and educated and trained, we're working to have that intuitive relationship with the body. Now, initially, in True Body Intelligence, we teach systems so that people can learn information, right? So the scaffolding is the system. Yet, what we want to do is we want to be able to use our heart to drive intention through the scaffolding so that we can serve powerfully. And what I mean by that is this is let's say we're talking about electromagnetic channels and we're looking at the heart or the small intestine or the colon or the lungs and balancing relationships. Like as you said earlier, information is great, and yet you need to take heartfelt action. And yet, because the heart is the most intuitive organ in the body, the more we get in touch with that, and the more we love the body by giving it positive affection, right? An example of affection could be a short fast, right? Example of affection could be a colonic. Example of perfection could be a nice long walk or a hike or a short run or taking a yoga class or doing some breath work or sitting down and meditating. All of these heartfelt actions that we're taking to our own benefit could simply be seen as affection, and you using your mind to be able to find the things that you're interested in and then spending time doing them and then asking your body, would it prefer to have some more of this or would it like something else? And then building an instinctual but also a conscious subconscious, right, dynamic going on between you and your body. And I think once that happens, it's very easy to maintain a high state of health and the word you used was harmony, to have a harmonious and balanced body. Because when my mind and my body are aligned, then my spirit is flowing and my emotions are grounded. But when my body and my mind are separate, my emotions are anxious and my spirit is exhausted. And so the unification between the body and my mind and the mind is essential, and that's what we do in True Body Intelligence.
Yeah, I love that. You're speaking my language, aligning all the
Yeah,
bodies.
yeah, lining all the bodies, the unification, because if you it's called True Body Intelligence because the purpose of the work is to raise
Hmm.
the intelligence of your conscious mind, your unconscious emotions, your subconscious body, and your superconscious spirit. And if we can raise the intelligence in every one of those bodies, then what happens is you start to feel this unification occurring. And you start meeting a person who's physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually intelligent simultaneously, which is a very rare state of expression on a third dimensional plane. And so the purpose of true body intelligence is to develop avatars on a third dimensional plane, which is a very difficult thing to do on a third dimensional plane because of the relative state of density that's
Hmm.
going on here. and the amount of karmic, uh, detrimental behavior that's been acted out against humans and animals and the earthly elements, the plant, the ocean, the forest, uh, the precious metals, all of this stuff that's gone on has negatively affected us. And true body intelligence wants to repair that relationship inside of the individual first. And once that relationship is repaired and all four worlds are unified into one, and you're accessing high levels of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual intelligence, it's easy. And I like the word that you use. Um, it's easy to penetrate into the world and manifest and create something that benefits you, your family, your community, and your culture exponentially and extremely powerfully.
Absolutely. I that is very aligned with, a lot of what I teach, and really the fundamental core of what I teach is, the greatest way to impact change in the world, right, that we want to make is it starts with us. And it starts with our willingness, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not about being perfect or reaching some utopic whatever destination. It's about just starting with a willingness to allow and to actually invoke forward remembrance of the truth of who you really are. And when you
Mm.
start that journey, then, the train leaves the station, so to speak. And
Yeah.
all of these other things that we're talking about start to organically fall into place. And it doesn't mean that it's always easy because, the word and the term alignment has been really kind of glorified in the personal development industry as, oh, when you are aligned, then everything will feel easy. Well, that's not, always true, because one of the greatest challenges we face, right, on this ascension journey is navigating the integration of remembering the truth of who we are and how that impacts not just our body, but our relationships, our careers, and all of those other dynamics. So, yeah, I'm loving our conversation.
Yeah, yeah. To speak to what you're saying, to give it a little amplification, um, and a good mirroring, is that as humans and as leaders and as teachers, as I grow, everything that's in my sphere of influence grows simultaneously
Hmm.
because of a concept called transference and unification. And if we realize that if I rise up, then all the boats will rise up with me. And so it is having a willingness to sort of where we started the conversation, a willingness to look at yourself with honest eyes,
Hmm.
admit your inner deficiencies, admit your insecurities, admit your fears, investigate your limiting beliefs, challenge all of your limiting beliefs, and then find new beliefs, right? Move through those fears, build confidence where you're insecure,
Hmm.
fill up those inner deficiencies with excesses, right? Train and practice consistently. And every human who does that and takes that model that you've shared and I've reflected back to you, if they take that on for an hour a day or half an hour a day consistently for a year, imagine the amount of impact that they can have. And the part of the journey to building inner self esteem is things that are difficult. And so, yes, this path has been avoided by many because being addressing their pain and their discomfort is uncomfortable. And what I want to share with the listeners is that look, if you spend a little bit of time, a little bit of your resources, a little bit of your energy, and you maintain some level of consistency with what you're doing, whether it's breath work or it's yoga or it's running or sailing, whatever has your interest, you're going to improve dramatically by month 3. And by month 6, you're going to start getting exponential improvements. And as you improve, you're a bigger, brighter light for yourself, but for your family and your community. And
Mm-hmm.
leadership is about taking heartfelt action to your own benefit without telling others what they need to do, by being the example of what could be done,
Yeah.
of
You're,
of of
yeah.
what is possible.
You're leading with frequency.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm.
Christopher, in
That should be the title of your book.
my book. Okay.
Leading with frequency.
Yes, it could be.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Yeah, it could be. Yes, I have a lot on the docket that wants to come forward for sure. In closing, I'd love for you to just share with us anything else that intuitively is coming forward in this now moment.
Well, I think as you were sharing there, I was going to share with the listeners. Look, we talked very little about true body intelligence, and we got into more of like an inspirational but also educational
Yeah,
um, share around growth, right? And the importance of, being willing to look at oneself.
yeah.
Yet I know that the tools in true body intelligence, if you're someone who wants to look at themselves and is ready to go, then, true body intelligence can be helpful in the sense that it's a science, right?
Mhm.
Like there's no woo woo. Everything that we do in true body intelligence is verifiable and repeatable by anyone. All they really, literally need to do is learn the tools. And I think that's important to say in this time so people understand that spirituality and growth can be a science. And if you understand the implicate order of change, then you're able to produce predictable outcomes for yourself. And you know that where you're spending your money, because these things cost money, they cost time, they cost energy, they cost effort, and time in a certain way is limited while you're in a body. If you want to get the biggest bang for your buck, you have to do a little bit of everything, in a
Mhm.
sense that you got to put a little bit of effort into your sleep. You got to put a little bit of effort into your relationship with food. You got to put a little bit of effort in relationship to your body. You got to put a little bit of effort in relationship to your emotions and your mind and your spirit. And if you can do that on a semi consistent basis, then you've got a really great opportunity to, if you're a parent, uh, to make a life for your children. Because when you're leading with frequency, I'm going to use your term, the frequency that the parent develops directly impacts the children. So
Mhm.
everything the parent overcomes, the child no longer needs to do. And what I found is I had to pick up the broken down suitcase that my parents handed me because none of this was available or seen as important, even if it was available in Western society in the United States in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah, everyone for the most part was doing the best that they
Yeah,
knew
for
to do,
sure.
right? Based upon their own unique journey in that
Right.
time. I love that you touched on the science aspect of the technology because, science is alchemy in form.
That's right.
Okay. It's all interconnected. It's not separate. We could have a whole podcast episode and conversation about separation consciousness
Oh,
and
yes,
the
I would love to do
dissolution
that. Yeah,
of that, right?
yeah.
But
Real quick, in human design, I'm the left angle cross of separation.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, so please.
Yeah. So I just, wanted to, it was important to say that, right? That science is alchemy in form,
Hmm.
that precision is very spiritual.
That's right. Absolutely. Precision lives in the spiritual world. Has nothing to do with the
Yes.
body or the emotions of the mind. It's a spiritual essence. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, Christopher, I mean, what a treat to connect with you in this
Yeah.
today.
It's a treat for me. I mean, um, I love your language. I love the way that you communicate. Um, I love how mindful you are, how easily you put things together. And I find you to be grounded and calm and excited and passionate about what you do. And it's been a real treat to share space with you.
Oh, thank you. I really feel that likewise. And for those who are feeling called to connect with you further, where is the best place for them to go?
I think the two best places, I'm really not a Facebook person. Like that just is kind of like different from my gig. I go to Instagram, and in Instagram, you punch in my name, Christopher Lee Maher, Maher. You'll be able to find me there. If you go to my website, truebodyintelligence.com, my book is available to read. I have a free podcast there where I go through 20 different episodes so people can understand the implicate order of true transformation. Get that education. It's free. Okay. I think that's powerful. I like giving things for free because, the benefit of what you and I are doing is we become huge resources for information while simultaneously becoming huge resources for embodiment. And so our information is congruent with the way that we're living.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you can go to truebodyintelligence.com if you're looking to be impacted by a practitioner that practices the tools within True Body Intelligence. You can go to tbitrainingacademy.com and you can find a practitioner there who will help guide you and teach you the very things that I've been sharing about here today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again for such a rich and deep conversation. I really appreciate your presence and just want to honor you and witness you in all that you're doing. Truly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's been great to be here.
Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.